Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Thinking about everything we've seen so far in One Piece, I believe that Eustace Kid's journey might be far from over. Even after being overwhelmingly defeated by Shanks in chapter 1079, it's hard to imagine Kid simply disappearing from the story just like that. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Since his introduction in chapter 498, Kid has always been portrayed as someone who carries an ambition as great as Luffy's, but one that was shaped by a path full of thorns and despair. The difference between them has always been in how each deals with the cruel world around them. Luffy never stopped believing in people, while Kid, perhaps because he faced betrayal and loss too early, became someone who acts with force first, not caring much about building bonds. But now, after his defeat in Elbaf, maybe Kid stands before a crossroads he can no longer ignore. Losing everything to Shanks is not just a physical defeat, it's being forced to face his own fragility. To feel the humiliation of being crushed in front of a symbol representing everything he always dreamed of surpassing. Perhaps at this moment, Kid is being forced to do something he's always avoided, rethink his own path. And I believe this rethinking might eventually lead him to Luffy. If we look back at what happened in Wano, especially between chapters 1000 and 1050, it's clear that Kid had already started, albeit reluctantly, to learn to work alongside others. Even though he tried to maintain his independence, his fight against Big Mom alongside Law showed that he is capable of recognizing the value of allies, even if it goes against his pride. And that's exactly what makes me think that maybe after his defeat to Shanks, Kid will realize that he will never reach his dreams alone. Going back to Sabaody Archipelago, where the supernovas are introduced, Kid is shown as someone who already carried a terrible reputation, earning huge bounties not just for his strength, but for the brutality of his methods. And yet even back then, there was something in him that resembled Luffy, the refusal to bow down to tyranny. Maybe Kid was never so different from Luffy deep down, just someone who chose to harden his heart to survive in a world that doesn't forgive the innocent. And now, with his fleet destroyed and his dreams shattered, maybe he will realize that Luffy, despite everything, kept moving forward without betraying his principles. Maybe he will understand that true strength lies not just in the power to destroy, but in the ability to inspire others to fight alongside you. I think Kid might see in the Straw Hat Crew something he always desired but never knew how to build: a true family of free people. If that happens, I imagine his request to join Luffy wouldn't be made directly. Kid isn't the type to beg or explain his feelings in pretty words. Maybe he would just show up awkwardly and say something like, "Let me fight too," or "This time, I want to be on this side of the story." And Luffy, being Luffy, would probably accept without a second thought. Because for Luffy, what matters isn't the past, but what a person chooses to be from that moment on. Thinking about the dynamic of the Straw Hat Crew, it would be interesting to see how Kid would fit in. Maybe he would become a kind of extra force, a powerful ally, but still with that rough and suspicious demeanor. I don't think he would change his personality to become someone docile. He would still be Kid, with all his stubbornness and explosiveness, but maybe he would find a space where he could fight without carrying the weight of the world alone. There's also another important detail: the final battle against the world government and the Holy Knights is approaching. The pieces have been moving for a long time, and now, with the emergence of figures like Imu and the revelations about the Void Century in chapters 1060 and 1061, it's clear that this battle won't be won with the same old allies. New forces must join together, and who better to fight against ancient tyranny than someone like Kid, who has hated oppression with every fiber of his being. Maybe alongside Luffy, Kid will find redemption not just for himself, but for everything he lost along the way. Maybe he'll discover that there are battles worth fighting not for glory, but for the freedom of others. Something Luffy has always understood instinctively, but that Kid might finally consciously comprehend. If we observe Kid's behavior during Wano, especially during the battles against the Yonko, it's clear that he has enormous adaptability. Even when facing opponents who clearly overpowered him, he never gave up, and that is a quality Luffy might recognize and admire. Maybe Kid's willpower is exactly what the Straw Hats need to face what's coming. Furthermore, there's a strong symbolism in seeing former rivals joining forces against a common enemy. In One Piece, rivalry has never been synonymous with absolute hatred. Luffy and Kid competed, but there was respect, and maybe it's precisely that respect that could open the path for a new alliance. This time, not out of convenience, but out of genuine choice. Oda has shown several times that he likes unexpected redemptions, and I think perhaps Kid's story is far from ending in defeat and bitterness. Maybe his true journey is only beginning now, when he chooses to fight alongside those he spent so long trying to surpass. If this happens, I imagine Kid's transformation wouldn't be immediate. He would still struggle with his pride and difficult temperament, but little by little, perhaps, he would start to understand that what he always sought, respect, recognition, freedom, isn't won by strength alone, but through trust and companionship. And in realizing that maybe, just maybe, Kid would find not only the chance to avenge his defeat against Shanks, but also the chance to build something he never dreamed he could have, a place where he truly belongs. Furthermore, the idea of a lasting alliance between Kid and Luffy would not be something easily accepted right away, as Kid's personality has never been that of someone who quickly trusts others. His journey has always been a solitary one, perhaps as a defense mechanism against the betrayals he suffered and the belief that the world is ruthless toward those who appear weak or vulnerable. However, Kid's path, especially during moments like the battle against Big Mom and Kaido in Wano, showed that he is not just a man of brute strength, he is someone who possesses the spirit of resilience, someone capable of reinventing himself even in the face of adversity. The thing is, now he needs to understand that he cannot fight against the world alone. When we observe Kid's dynamics in Wano, it's clear that he was already forced to team up with others to achieve victory. His relationship with Law and Luffy, although initially reluctant, was marked by a tacit understanding that unity made a difference in monumental battles. Kid, though hardened by life and his own choices, began to realize that his narrow view of power was not enough to confront the immense forces against him. Luffy's presence, always seeking something beyond mere victory, offered Kid a new perspective. The captain of the Straw Hats never aimed to win alone. He always believed that true victory could only be achieved alongside his friends and allies. By observing Luffy, Kid might begin to question whether he was really following the best path, and this is a crucial point for a possible alliance. It is within this scenario of reevaluating his own values that Kid might start to realize that Luffy, despite having everything Kid ever wanted, an empire, followers, respect, and a great crew, still maintains a pure and open heart. Kid, on the other hand, has always been closed off, building walls around himself as a defense against the world's inevitable disappointments and betrayals. But now, by looking at Luffy, he might realize that there's another way to achieve what he seeks, not just through physical strength or brutality, but through genuine connections with people who share the same ideals. This moment of reflection could be the key for Kid to understand that if he wants to achieve his grandest goals, he will need allies more than ever. And who better to fight alongside him than Luffy? Someone who, despite their differences, shares the same desire for freedom and change in the world. Kid's proposal to join Luffy's crew and how he would present himself to the other pirates might not be a declaration of surrender, but rather an acknowledgement that there are forces greater than himself. There wouldn't be a huge emotional revelation, but rather a simple and direct gesture, perhaps even a little rough, something like, "Let me fight, too." Luffy, without hesitation, would accept, because to him, what matters is what a person decides to do from that moment on. Kid's integration into Luffy's grand fleet wouldn't mean a radical change in his personality. He wouldn't transform from a fierce, stubborn captain into someone sweet and gentle. Kid would remain the same force of nature he has always been, with his pride, stubbornness, and explosive temper. But alongside Luffy, he could begin to understand that the bonds that unite people are just as important as physical strength when it comes to achieving great goals. Kid has never been a man of many words, but by fighting alongside Luffy and the Straw Hat crew, he might learn the value of companionship, and this could bring not only great change for him, but also a powerful addition to the crew. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.